Hey guys, today is the first video in a series of videos that I will be doing, which will be dedicated to the grandest passions of mine. That'll be English and cinema. What will I be doing in these videos? Well, we are going to watch together a video which I myself enjoy, and we're going to take out some useful vocabulary out of there. So basically I'm gonna just strip down the video and show you the chunks and bits and pieces of vocabulary on this or that subject which you can use in your daily life. I think we'll start with the video which is called Therapists Review Movie Couples From Twilight to La La Land by Vanity Fair. So let's start.
I'm Laura. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm also a certified Gottman therapist and co-host of Marriage Therapy Radio.
Yeah, I'm Zach. I'm also the co-host of Marriage Therapy Radio with Laura. I have a couples therapist in private practice in Seattle, also a certified Gottman therapist.
Today we're going to be analyzing romantic relationships in some popular films.
So, the vocabulary that they use. The first phrase that they talk about to describe themselves is licensed certified therapist. So that's a therapist which you want to go to because he is licensed and certified, coming from the words license and certificate. The next phrase that they use is a marriage, family, couples therapist. So these are the therapists. So these are the therapists that treat couples, families, and marriages and help them find a way out of their problems through therapy. The next phrase that they use is private practice. So private practice is when professional, a specialist, or a therapist in this case, when he counsels in private, when he isn't a part of any group or enterprise or firm that provides counseling services. The next word is co-host. So if we take, for example, Jimmy Fallon's late night show, he has a co-host whose name is Steve Higgins. So that's that. Moving on to romantic relationships. So pretty self-explanatory. It's a relationship that is romantic. So you probably can have a romantic relationship with your friend. You usually have a romantic relationship with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Yeah. Moving on.
Right, so this is La La Land. Mia is an aspiring actress and Sebastian is an aspiring jazz musician. Sebastian has gained a steady job by joining a touring band. Mia turns down his offer to come on the road with him because she needs to rehearse her upcoming one-woman play.
So the vocab that Laura Heck, the woman therapist, is using here is aspiring actress and aspiring jazz musician. So who is an aspiring actress? Is the actress who longs to become an actress, but she's not there just yet. She needs more practice, more auditions, yada yada. And regarding the aspiring jazz musician, it goes the same for him. He wants to become a full-blown jazz musician, but he's not there just yet. Then she says, gain a steady job. So when you gain a steady job, you acquire it. You get this steady job. The next phrase that she uses is join a touring band. So he becomes a member of a touring band. Then she uses the phrase turn down an offer. So when someone offers you something or proposes you something, you can turn it down. So refuse the offer. The next phrase that she uses is to come on the road with someone. So in this specific clip, Sebastian asks Mia to come on the road with him to join his tour and his band. The next phrase is rehearse a play. So when you participate in a play as an actor or an actress, you tend to rehearse the play in advance. It goes the same for film actors and actresses. They do rehearsals before they go on location to film or to perform. The next phrase is upcoming play. So upcoming can work with various nouns and words. So an upcoming film, upcoming book, upcoming play. So it's something that is coming, that is not here yet, but it will arrive soon. The next phrase is one woman or one man play. Kind of, I guess, also self-explanatory. So a play in which there is only one person who plays all the parts, or who just has one part, and the whole play is built around his monologue or his dialogues with him or herself. Okay, moving on.
Okay, that's crap. Whenever people say, I just wish I could, make it happen. Don't say I wish I could if it's an empty wish.
So here Laura says this pretty cool phrase, which I guess is also quite popular in slang English. So that's crap. You say this phrase when you want to say that something is untrue in this specific situation. So when someone lies to you or tries to fool you, if you have an informal or an intimate relationship with this person, so if it's not a formal relationship, you can always say that's crap, meaning that this person is lying to you. Next phrase is make it happen. So make it happen is a phrase that you say when you want the person to actually make something happen. You want them to take action, to take responsibility for their words and not just say empty words or make empty wishes, which is also the next phrase which Laura says here. Moving on.
Laura, how many times have you heard couples come in and say, we don't even know what we were arguing about?
I have no idea. Yeah, every couple.
I think that's what's going to happen here.
So what Zach Brittle, the man therapist, says here, they don't know what they're arguing about. Argue about something is a good phrase to use when you want to speak about two people who are in conflict. They are arguing about something, or about something that they have no idea of, like Zach Brittle says here. Moving on.
As a therapist, when you're watching couples do exactly what this couple's doing, do you ever feel like you're kind of getting swept up in a tornado and you really can't track and you're just like, wait, what's going on here?
If this was happening right in front of me, I would let it play. And eventually I would say, do you guys have any idea what you're talking about right now?
Yeah.
And they would stop and it would jar them. The other one I would say is, do you have any idea what the purpose of this conversation is? Like, they never know why, because I don't even know what the end of this conversation is going to be, apart from disaster, because they don't have a shared goal. They don't have a shared understanding of what they're trying to accomplish together. And that becomes apparent because he plays this card, which is, well, I did what you wanted, so why aren't you going to do what I wanted? They're no longer talking with each other. They're only talking at each other.
So what they're talking about here, they're evidently talking about how Sebastian's and Mia's situation doesn't really work. So the first phrase that they use is to get swept up in a tornado. So Laura states here, when she works with her patients, sometimes she feels as though she's getting swept up in a tornado of their chaotic emotions. And she also says that she can't track. And track, I think we are all kind of familiar with the word. So you can track if you order something from eBay, or if you order something from AliExpress or Amazon, etc. You can track your parcel, so how it goes from point A to point B, you track its route. And so when she gets swept up in this tornado of emotions, she can't really track. She can't find her way through this. And then Zach, the man therapist, he says that when something like that happens to him at a therapy session, when he's conducting one, he just lets it play. So when you let something play, you kind of let it go with the flow and you don't intervene. Then Zach says it would jar them. So when something jars you, it shocks you in an unpleasant way. We know jar from the little glass container that we use for jam. Imagine slamming that jar against someone's face. That would be quite unpleasant. Maybe that's a good way to retain that phrase. Then Zach speaks about a shared goal or a shared understanding. describing how Sebastian and Mia, they don't have that. They don't share a goal, or they don't share an understanding of the situation that they're in. Also, he speaks about accomplishing something together. When you accomplish something, you succeed in something. But here he stresses the together point. So to succeed in something together. So both partners should have success in this or that. And then Zach says that this becomes apparent. When something becomes apparent, it's easy to see, easy to notice. So it appears, it becomes apparent. And then he talks about Sebastian and how he decides to play a specific card. When you play a card, it's you make a specific move, either you say something specific, so you play a specific game, or you play a specific card, like in card games, practically. Then both Zach and Laura simultaneously say that Sebastian and Mia are no longer talking to each other, they're talking at each other. So if you imagine a conversation where two people are talking at each other, they don't have a dialogue. They just have two monologues which play against each other. They don't interact. They talk at each other. Moving on.
Where should they have stopped? Because there is an important stopping point that couples need to recognize where they're no longer having an intelligible conversation.
Well, your question about when should they have stopped, it's kind of like asking, when should we parachute out of this plane that's about to crash?
Yes.
Anytime before it hits the ground.
So Laura says that couples should recognize a stopping point. So a stopping point is kind of self-explanatory. So if you imagine a situation when a runner is running his course, or there is a car race, and you have a specific stopping point on your route. And Laura says that Sebastian and Mia, they didn't recognize this stopping point of no return. And from that stopping point, they stopped having an intelligible conversation. An intelligible conversation is another phrase that Laura uses here. Anything that is intelligible, it can be a text, it can be a speech. So something that is intelligible is loud, clear, transparent, apprehendable, something that is clear for understanding. Then Zach makes a metaphor of a plane that it's about to crash. And he says, when should we parachute out of this plane, which is crashing? And then he says, anytime before it hits the ground. So a falling airplane that is about to crash is a nice metaphor that we can use for a situation which isn't working. Moving on.
Joy.
Since when do
Just
you
'cause I don't
care
enjoy
about
it doesn't
being
matter.
liked? Why do you care so much about being liked?
You're an actress. What are you
Whoa.
talking about?
Yep. Shots fired.
Yeah, if he says, I'm sorry, hold on, let me just go compose myself real quick. I shouldn't have said that.
What you're saying is this would be the opportunity for repair.
Yeah.
Instead,
Maybe you
he's
just liked me when I was on my ass because it made you feel better about yourself.
Are you kidding?
No?
I know that
He's
guy
hurt.
very well.
Yeah, you do. I think it's interesting and actually quite brilliant that they wrote in this fire alarm, because I think we need this idea of this fire alarm, or this like third thing to pull us out of whatever's going on. And I just think that if you think of a
Where's she
fire
going?
alarm as like,
What is she doing?
There's this,
Wait, no.
What?
Don't stop. Come.
so she leaves. You wanted her to stick with it.
So what they say here. First, Laura, when she hears Sebastian saying to me that you're an actress, so he's kind of insulting her, and Laura says that the shot's fired. So if you imagine a gun and someone shoots it, so the shot is fired, and you can't reverse it, only if it's not some kind of sci-fi film. And so when something literally comes out of your mouth and you didn't want to say it, you can perfectly use the phrase, the shot's fired. Or when you do something which wasn't really the right thing to do, someone can say that, wow, here, the shot is fired. Then Zach says, wait, let me compose myself real quick. So when you compose yourself, you put yourself together. The act of composing, when you compose something, it can be some kind of creative piece, you know, like a song or a poem. You put things together and you compose something. So in this context, Sebastian could have composed himself, like to assemble his thoughts, like to get yourself together is to compose yourself. Another example, you can compose yourself after you were made to cry. I don't know, after crying, you can compose yourself and appear more together to the public. Then Laura says if Sebastian would have composed himself, it would be some kind of opportunity for repair. Of course, we repair our apartments, we repair physical things, but you can also repair a relationship which is broken. So this specific case could have been an opportunity for repair, but actually it wasn't, if we continue looking at the clip. And then Laura says that she really appreciates that the screenwriters wrote in this fire alarm. So when you write something in, you specifically put something in this case, into a screenplay. And I would say that this phrase mostly applies to some kind of texts. So when you deliberately think about something which is not an afterthought, it's a thing that you thoughtfully put in. You write in this case, a specific fire alarm. And then Laura talks about a third thing. So a third thing is something that comes from the outside, so which isn't a part of the situation or the couple in this case. It's a third thing, this fire alarm, that can stop Sebastian and Mia from arguing, and it's something that can pull them out of this conflict and this argument. Then Laura says that Zach actually would have liked Mia to stick with it. Stick with it means when you want to stick with the way things are, remain with how things are, stay with how things are. When you stick, the action of sticking, everyone knows those yellowy sticky notes, which we can stick on different things, slap them on different things. When you stick, you really cling to something. So in this situation, you cling with whatever's going on between Sebastian and Mia. Moving on.
The methodology that we come out of, which is the Gottman method, has this idea that there are 4 sort of relationship destroying behaviors, and they were all over that conversation.
Yeah.
Like his defensiveness, her criticism. When he goes, "You're just an actress," there's contempt, right? Which is problematic. Some of us have to choose what's called stonewalling, which is what she did, right? She just went totally inside and then left the room. And none of that makes room for a relationship.
If you recognize that these 4 things are part of the relationship, then it's probably in your best interest to rein them in and figure out how you can do something different other than what's going on.
And then Zach talks about the relationship destroying behaviors. The first one that he cites is defensiveness, and defensiveness comes from the word defense, which is an act of protecting and defending a territory, a house, in this case, yourself. So when you are being defensive, or this state of when you have the state of defensiveness, is actually when you are really sensitive to criticism and you try to protect yourself as much as you can. Sometimes this protection might be built upon the basis of being aggressive. So defensiveness can sometimes be equal to aggressiveness. The next one that he states is criticism. And criticism is the act of criticizing someone, like telling that someone does something in a bad way or incorrectly, or that someone is too fat or too skinny. All of these things are a sign of criticism. The next relationship destroying behaviors that Zach talks about is contempt. And what is contempt? It's the extreme lack of respect. So when you act as though you completely disrespect this or that person, you show contempt. The next thing that he talks about is this phenomenon of stonewalling. So when you stonewall someone, it's kind of evident, the meaning is kind of evident from the metaphorical construction of the word. So a stone wall that you build around yourself So when you are stonewalling someone, or just stonewalling, you refuse to cooperate or to communicate with this or that person. You put yourself behind the stone wall. The last thing regarding destructive relationship behaviors, they talk about how Mia, after what Sebastian says, goes inside or shuts down. So when you go inside, you become introspective, but even more, you just become closed up. You don't want to communicate no more. You go inside yourself. Shut down, you know how, I don't know, a restaurant can shut down, a bookstore can shut down, your computer can shut down. So when something shuts down, it ceases to operate, ceases to function. In this specific case, Mia shuts down, meaning that she no longer wants to communicate or interact with Sebastian. Then they use the phrase make room for a relationship. So all these negative aspects that they discussed before, they make no room for the relationship. So the relationship can't exist in this kind of environment, whether as positivity, accepting your partner, and etc. It makes room for a relationship. Then Laura says that it's in one's best interest to rein these negative aspects in. When something is in your best interest, it means that you really should do it. When you rein something in, you stop or slow this thing down by pulling, by metaphorically pulling reins. And reins is a device that we use to slow down or control the horse when you ride it. So that's about it for my first tiny video where I break down the vocabulary used in a specific video. Good luck, bye.